but really what I will be getting into today can be applied to any business. So going from employee to entrepreneur, as I mentioned, it definitely is a process. It definitely takes a shift in your mindset, a shift in your finances, a shift in pretty much everywhere, every area of your life. So if you are married, you have children, even if you're single, everything shifts when you are starting a business. And so you just have to learn how to flow with the changes and also pivot and be able to have a balanced work life, professional life, and business life and personal life. So you just got to balance everything. And this takes time. This is not something you'll automatically figure out, in 30 days. It definitely is something that you will learn as you go through the process. So as it was posted in the group, we have the challenge for today. And so the challenge is to identify one or two things that you feel will be the most difficult for you to transition from an employee to an entrepreneur. For those of you that are currently business owners, please identify one or two things that will be a challenge for you to start a new business or expand your current business. And the bonus is please share, how do you plan to overcome these challenges? So how do you plan to overcome these challenges? Please share that. So you could go ahead and type in the chat box now. Feel free to type in the chat box and share with everyone that's on the live stream or watching the replay your answers to today's challenge questions. So how exactly do we transition from employee to entrepreneur? So there's 3 mindset shifts, at least 3 important ones. By no means is it limited to this, but there's 3 important mindset shifts you must have or must encounter to go from employee to entrepreneur. So the first one is you have to be ready for responsibility. We're all healthcare professionals to some degree within this group. And so I'm sure that many of you understand what responsibility is as far as in a professional setting. But to some degree, as an employee of a company, your responsibility level has a cap to some degree. I'm sure many of you would agree. To some degree, you have to answer to someone else. Or if you have a situation that is not in your particular job description, there's someone higher up that's responsible. So one thing I learned as a business owner and an entrepreneur is that I am literally responsible for everything. And so that's something that I want all of you to understand as well, is that you have to be ready to take on responsibilities for things that you've never done before. So you have to be ready for responsibility. You have to be ready to make quick decisions and to make sound decisions, make good decisions for yourself and your team. So when you move on to hire people or work with business partners to some extent, you are the one that really they're going to be looking to make decisions and take ownership of how to direct your business, how to direct your team. So you definitely have to be ready for responsibility. The next mindset shift you need to have is you must establish short and long-term goals. I think that there's a saying that goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you don't have an idea of where you want to go in starting up a med spa, then you really don't have a clear vision of what it is that you want to do. So you want to make short and long-term goals. So your short-term goals may be anything from maybe 6 to 12 months from now. Your long-term goals will probably be 3 to 5 years from now and beyond. So you definitely want to make some short and long-term goals. You don't want to feel like that if you don't meet your goal on that specific day that you failed. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means that you're working towards that goal, but you want to set those goals for yourself. And the next mindset shift you want to have is you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Every day there is something new that you're taking on in the process of being an entrepreneur, starting up a business that you have never experienced before. And I can tell you guys, with the couple of years I've been doing this, every day I'm faced with something different, something that's unfamiliar. But I'm at a place now that I am expecting the unfamiliar. I'm expecting to not be comfortable in my situation. And so those are just signs that you're growing. So one thing that you also have to be aware of as a business owner is that you're going to grow professionally, you're going to grow personally, you're going to grow mentally, and this process will stretch you. And so if you want to grow financially, you have to be ready to take on these different things and learn these things as you go along. So let's focus on the differences between being an employee and an entrepreneur. So as an employee, you have to conform to the rules. I think that if we don't follow the rules on our jobs, we'll probably get fired, and then we're not going to make any money, and we're going to suffer. So we don't want to take those risks as an employee. So as an employee, yes, you have to conform to the rules. And usually, especially in healthcare, there's really no room for error or mistakes. So you really have to know what you're doing, and you really have to get it done. Also, as an employee, the learning process quickly becomes routine. So if you've been working in a specific field or a specific setting for quite some time, you learn in the beginning, but then that learning process just becomes an everyday routine. So you know what to do, you know who to report to, you know what daily tasks you have to do. And so, the learning process does become a little stagnant as an employee. And as an employee, we're focusing on the next promotion or salary raise. So the truth is, it's really probably hard to obtain financial wealth from just one form of employment. So typically you'll have to, maybe do some investing, or, maybe you're in the stock market or whatever the case may be. But usually if you want to strive for obtaining wealth, financial independence, just working one job is kind of hard to do that. So the focus is not really to obtain wealth as an employee. The focus is to continue to move up the ladder and to be eligible for promotions and raises, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I am talking to the people who want financial independence, the people who want to gain financial increase in their own business. So now let's look at entrepreneur. So as an entrepreneur, your fear becomes your motivation. And somebody actually posted that in the challenge for the challenge comment today. And I thought that was so amazing how, they really posted exactly what I was going to talk about. So even though, as I mentioned, you're coming into a new territory, you're trying new things, you're doing new things that's unfamiliar to you, that fear should be your motivation. Now, if anybody follows me on social media, they know that I'm serious about my relationship with the Lord. Like I do nothing without Jesus. So the Bible tells us that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. So in order for us to really see success and to be and to strive to going in the direction that God has called us to go, we can't allow fear to overpower our lives. So yes, you can recognize that there's fear, but you have to use that fear and turn it into motivation, turn it into success, turn it into what drives you and what pushes you. So really, as an entrepreneur, you have to push past those fears and those doubts. So as an entrepreneur, mistakes help you succeed. So one thing I have learned in this journey is to show myself grace and to not really beat myself up when things don't go the way I want, or if I make a mistake in the process. It's all a part of the process. So don't be afraid to make those mistakes. Don't be afraid if plan A didn't work out. There's always plan B and C and whatever. And so that's what makes you, I feel like that's what makes you well-rounded. You know how we talk about being a well-rounded employee? Well, you also have to be a well-rounded entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you are constantly learning. So that's the difference as an employee. An employee, the learning process can become stagnant, but as an entrepreneur, you're always learning, whether if it's something related to your field, medical, healthcare, business operations, you are motivational things, conferences, you're always wanting to learn, how can you improve? How can you grow? How can you do better? And lastly, there are no limits to your goals. I mean, there's no salary cap to owning a business. I mean, I'm going to be very honest and transparent to you guys. I used to think, oh, my goal was to become a nurse practitioner and I was going to do, my goal was to make X amount, and that was my goal and that was my dream for myself, until I realized after a couple years in entrepreneur, and I was like, what am I thinking? Like, it really is very, very attainable to make 7 figures and beyond. So I want everybody to keep that in their mind. It's very attainable to make 7 figures and beyond. And when we get into day 3 and day 4, we'll talk about more of, how to build a 6 and 7 figure business. But there's really no limit as far as what you can earn, what you can make as an entrepreneur. As well, there's no limit in how much you can expand. If you do so well in starting a med spa and you decide you want to franchise your med spa and you want to franchise it in other cities, other states, who's to stop you? So there's really no limit on what you can do as a business owner. All right, so you want to identify 3 goals, okay? So going from employee to entrepreneur, there's some steps you're going to take, and you want to identify 3 goals in your first step. So identify your personal goals, your professional goals, and your financial goals. So whatever that may be is, you guys can feel free to share it with everyone in the chat, or you can just write this down for yourself. But whatever those goals are, I want everybody to take a moment to write them down. Look over them, think about them, pray over them, whatever it is that you need to do to say, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is my goal. This is the goal I'm working towards. If your personal goal is, if you want to take care of your parents, if you want to be able to pay for your child's college tuition, whatever that is for you. If your professional goal is maybe you're a nurse and you want to start this business, but eventually you want to pay for your education to go on to get an advanced degree. That's a professional goal. Financial goal is maybe you want to pay off debt, your personal debt. Maybe you want to buy a new home cash or be able to put a down payment on a new home. Maybe you need a new car. Whatever it is, I don't care what it is, guys, but you just want to be able to identify some goals. Step 2, identify what's holding you back. So you want to be honest with yourself in this step. And if it's you that's holding yourself back, that's okay. We are our worst critics. And sometimes we let those thoughts of fear and doubt tell us that we can't do this and all the reasons why you shouldn't be doing something. And then it gets to the point where we start to believe it. And sometimes it's not always friends or family members or coworkers. Yes, that will have some negative external influences, but sometimes it's just in our own minds. And so again, you have to be able to push through even your own thoughts and your own doubts. So if it's you that's holding you back, that's okay. If you have a friend and that friend keeps telling you why you shouldn't do this, you might want to reconsider that friendship. And if it's a family member, you have to stand firm with family members and say, you know what, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to at least try. Okay. And so that, and yes, that may be a spouse and or parent or brother or sister. But I think that if you stand your ground and you genuinely ask for their support as you go through this, then they will really see how serious you are. So you want to identify what's holding you back. Step 3 is you want to make a committed decision. So once you do step 1, step 2, you write down your goals, you're sure about your goals, and you decide, okay, I'm going to go forward. You have to make that committed decision. It's almost like making a promise to yourself, and you have to stick with that decision. You don't want to waver and go back and forth and, one foot in, one foot out, because when you do that, that kind of affects every area of your life. So that tells me that you probably have some issues or problems with making decisions about a lot of things. So once you make a concrete decision about going forward and starting a business, then it really will, the plan and the road will kind of be mapped out for you, and you will know exactly what you need to go to move forward. All right. So